Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today we have a user-inspired edition. I'd like to thank Argon5806. I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you very much. And what we're going to talk about today is the cancel culture, the woke cancel culture, specifically in the workforce. And I've had other people leave comments in the comment section about, in America today, how are you supposedly not left alone? How are your freedoms being taken? Like it's obvious that we're just the most free country in the world, and anyone on the conservative side or in the middle who feels like our rights are being taken away, our freedoms are being taken away. We're just being ridiculous. It's not really happening. So I've seen a lot of people online complaining, about being censored and silenced and fired in a lot of instances. Death threats of violence against people who speak out against something or in favor of something, and that's what this is. And this is what we're talking about today. This cancel culture. Well, you'll get fired, and that I'm not going to be able to remember her name now, but the lady that worked for Disney in the Mandalorian series, they famously fired her, and then Elon Musk paid for her lawyer, or lent her his lawyers or whatever, and she sued Disney, and I think she won fair settlement from them. But talking about this cancel culture, what can we do about it? Because if you're not aware of it, the left, the woke culture, that whole culture, that new thing that's being injected into our society, they are vindictive, they're spiteful, and they're violent in a lot of cases. Look at the attempts made on Trump over the last year. How many far right-wing lunatics have made attempts on Biden or Obama or anybody, like Hillary Clinton? None. They're completely it's a completely different mindset, where somehow they're so brainwashed that they think it's okay to do violence against someone who is just speaking, right? And they conflate speech with violence. Now, they call anything they don't like, they call hate speech. You can say that, maybe we shouldn't be sending rockets to Mars. Maybe we should be planting trees on planet Earth. That's hate speech. And they can retaliate against that hate speech with violence in their minds. They can retaliate with violence because you were being violent by saying it. This is a key point that needs to be understood. They believe that speech is violence, and they get to call the shots. They get to point out which speech is violent and which isn't, what is hate speech and what isn't. They're calling the shots on that. It's not like there's a democratic process where, everybody votes on what is hate speech and we all agree that this shouldn't be said. No, they just get to call it hate speech, and then they get to retaliate with violence. So that's a really strange thing that's happening in our society, and probably Western civilization as a whole. I would be willing to bet the farm on that. It's in Australia, Canada, everywhere. So you're in the workplace, and you might say something, you might post something online or something like that, and you're afraid that you're going to be retaliated against just for having common sense. It's just very likely nowadays. It's very likely to say that, kids shouldn't be transitioned before the age of 10. That's likely going to be thought of as hate speech and violence. And you'll likely get retaliated against for that, depending on where you work. And the next few things I'm going to tell you how to combat that. I mean, I'm doing this stuff. This is just how I live my life. The first thing to me is don't use Windows. Use Linux. Windows, anything you say online can be tracked back to you through Windows. They monitor everything. They're as bad as Android and Apple and all that stuff are monitoring you. Now they're injecting that AI into it, and the Lord knows what, but they trace and monitor every single thing you do online on your computer. So if you're on a Windows machine, do not post anything. I wouldn't post anything from a Windows machine. If you're at home, use Linux. Technology has come a long way now. Linux is very easy to use. I've been using Linux since the early 2000s. I haven't had a Windows machine for I don't know how long. I don't use it. But it's real simple. You download the Linux distribution you want. You download another little program to burn that Linux distribution onto a thumb drive, and then you install Linux. It's like 3-4 step process, and it's really simple. You can watch any YouTube video on the process. So if you're worried about censorship, free speech, or any of that stuff, use Linux. They have Linux distributions that are specifically designed for privacy and free speech and that. And the second thing is you can, make an anonymous account that you can post from and use a VPN to block your router traffic so they don't know where it came from. So that if you're on social media where you want to make your voice heard, but you don't want to be punished for that at work, well, do it anonymously. And here's one thing that's the nature of the game now. Okay? They're all doing this shit from the shadows. So that's how this war is being fought, from the shadows. So, and they do this to silence us. So if you're afraid and you just keep silent, you're doing their will. So to make your voice known, even anonymously through a VPN and through Linux, is better than just saying nothing at all, in my opinion. We have to use the tools that we are given and fight the war that is being fought. We can't, if you want to engage in this war and help us win it, this cultural war, this informational war, then you have to use the tools that are available to us. You can't sit on the sidelines and wish, there was a way. There's a way. The second thing may be a little more difficult, and it's nowhere near impossible. I'm doing it now, is work for yourself. It sounds simple. A lot of people think it's hard. It's difficult, impossible at our age. That's bullshit. I just started working for myself recently. I'm moderately, I pay my bills, as well as, better than I did before at working for somebody else. But I'm having, I still have my financial struggles and all that, but no more than I had when I was working for somebody else. I'm a handyman. There are apps that help customers find you. You have to pay for them, but the return is really good. So if you're handy in any way, every city, every place around the country, every place around the world probably needs handymen. There are so many scam artists out there, crackheads who are pretending to be handymen and then just going in there and doing a bullshit job and ripping people off, or just flat out ripping people off. So there's a real demand for handymen all over the place. So if you're handy and you have tools and stuff, you can start doing jobs on the weekends and build from there. But also, there's all kinds of stuff to do online now. And I would I would highly suggest that you start small, and on the weekends while you're working at your regular job, and just devote a couple hours a week to it or whatever, and start building something online. Build yourself a career. It might take a few years, and nothing is flash in the pan. Everybody, you see all this stuff online, all these ads and stuff. Get rich, do it fast. And then you do this stuff, and it doesn't pan out. It's ridiculous. Everything takes time. I mean, you'll see the successful people that just blew up overnight, and yeah, that does happen, but it's so rare. And it was probably, their 105th attempt at doing it, at being successful, and they don't show all the failures that they had. They don't show all the time they put into it. They're just, they were living in their van one night, and the next day they're purchasing their first mansion. That's not how it works. It's a slow process. You have to build, but it's not out of the realm of reality to be successful. And even at the very least, you can make a good living for yourself by yourself. I work completely by myself as a handyman. I have no boss. I have no coworkers. I can post anything I want, anywhere I want. Yeah, they can censor me. They can shut down my account or whatever. They can't, but I'm not going to get fired from my job. I don't worry about any other repercussions. At least consider it and realize that you can do it. You can. It's just whether you want to or not, whether you will or not. Just like us with participating in the government and winning this cultural war. We can do it. It's just whether we will or not. People don't realize how much power they have. The power in their own lives. We support these huge companies by going to work and making them more money while our wages stay low and the inflation goes up, and we're worried about getting fired from this shitty job because we posted our opinion about something trivial online, and the wrong person saw it, and they bring it to the wrong person's attention. So, yeah, work for yourself, at least, and especially now that we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. Our parents, our grandparents, they had a pretty rock solid foundation, but even if there's a 50-50 chance maybe now, they keep saying that it's zero, but let's say it's 50-50 that we're going to have Social Security. Even if we have it, it's not going to keep up with inflation. You're not going to be able to have a good life only on Social Security. Let's just be honest. You're going to need a supplemental income. So if you look at it that way, you're starting early if you start now. So that's the way I see that. And then the other thing is, if you're, and this is a touchy one. If you're in an office, and 10 of you are just normal average people, and kind of believe the same things, and you got 2 or 3 people who are woke left and all this, then if the 10 stood together, they couldn't fire you. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't get rid of the entire office staff for one post. They can get rid of one person and replace one person, but they can't gut the entire office because one person made a post. We need to start standing together and supporting each other in this. And it's difficult. It's difficult to go to someone and say, hey, I'm going to make this post. What if I get fired? Will you walk out with me? You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be, you've got to do it slowly in conversation, and, I don't know, and I'm not giving anybody suggestions or anything, and I'm not telling anybody what to do or trying to influence anybody. I'm just throwing out ideas about how we can combat this woke mind virus and this censorship and cancel culture. But if we stand together That's the same. It's the same principle as unions. All of them stand together and they all walk out at the same time. That's why these unions have so much power, because they know they will shut down the entire thing. And even if the company does say, you know, screw you, y'all get lost, you're all fired, it'll take the company months or even years to recover from that, from all the experience they lost. So rarely does the union lose. I don't remember the last time they did. I'm sure they have, but rarely does that happen. And again, our population is huge. Common sense, you know, freedom-loving people are by far the majority. Most of your coworkers, probably, depending on where you work, I mean, if you work at Google, you're probably outnumbered 10 to 1. But if you work at a normal place, you're probably in the vast majority. So yeah, I believe that we should stand together, start supporting each other in these things. If you see a coworker being attacked in this way, then I would say I would have to stand up for them now. In my personal opinion, if it were me, I would have to stand up for them. I'm not saying quit your job. I don't know what the answer is there. Maybe go to the other common sense people and get them to stand up for that coworker with you. I don't know. But we do have options. We don't have to just sit by and watch each other get fired because we said that, you know, illegal immigration might possibly be a bad thing. Maybe illegal, you know, being against illegal immigration is not racism. Maybe, you know, these foreign wars aren't in the average American's best interest. These type of things, these things should be able to be said without repercussions, and we all know it. We all know it. It's just ridiculous. It's completely out of this world. So let's just quit with the bullshit and stand up for each other, help each other out, stand up for each other online, stand up for each other in the real world, and let each other know that it's okay to be normal. It's okay to have common sense. It's okay to love your country and your fellow citizens. We don't have to hate each other. We can support each other. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to become a member of Gen X Thinks, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can click on that super thanks button down there. Thank you very much for those of you who do that. I sincerely appreciate it. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can head over to Redbubble and check that stuff out. Gen X and Gen X Thinks branded stuff. Some patriotic stuff over there too. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll leave that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. Thank you very much for those of you who do that. It's very important in this informational and cultural war. Thank you for your support. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.